everybody. Welcome to the Board Report. We bring authentic truth and real conversation to educate our viewers. I'm going to bring on John Karapi from TGI Now. He's going to join us today. Hi, John. How are you?
Good. How you doing? Good to see you.
I'm doing great. So,
Right.
John, tell our viewers what the board report is, and can you give them an idea what the breakdown is on some of the key issues our viewers can expect from the board report?
Absolutely. So the board report was developed under the umbrella of the Indian River Connections, which is our umbrella of all our other podcasts, TGI Now, Binford Chronicles, and To the Point podcast. And so the board report came out of, the whole process of all these different boards in the community, school board, county commissioners, city council, hospital district. There's so many different platforms that we wanted to get people informed locally in Indian River County. So we developed that board report, and we're bringing on people that are going to come in and contribute to certain topics that we will have. And this is one of the topics that we have coming up right now, the hospital district and able child. So I look forward to hearing what everybody has to say, and then I'll come back on after the panel.
Yeah, we have a great lineup today. We have Shelia Mathews, founder of Able Child. And Shelia, she's a dedicated advocate and professional. She has made significant contributions in the nonprofit sector and the real estate industry. Shelia, welcome. Welcome on the board report.
Thank you so much, Joanne, for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, so Able Child. Shelia, how did this become a passion of yours?
Well, I'm a mom. I have two sons. They're grown men. And when my son was 7, the school was pressuring me to put him on psychiatric drugs because he was really very outgoing, typical boy, started speaking early, and it became a nightmare for me, the whole challenge of navigating the school system. And I was preparing for a meeting with the team of the IEP team. And I know parents out there know exactly what I'm talking about, where you go in and you face all the teachers. And basically at that point, the night before, I met my co-founder, Patricia Weather. She was testifying before Congress, and God intervened and had me watch this C-SPAN. And I called Congress, I got her number, and she warned me that the label itself, ADHD, is not based in any science. I wasn't being told that. So we developed a partnership and we decided to create Able Child, and that was in 2001. And now we're in all sorts of informed consent is our mission, and we're in all sorts of topics regarding mental health.
Wow. So Able Child is about informed consent of parental rights to access information about their children and what these drugs are all about. Yeah. So how does this tie into the school shootings?
Really good question. Basically, I started to work on legislation in the state of Connecticut, and Sandy Hook happened, and I was helping a mom who was navigating not only the school system, but what happened to her son is the state took her son away because she refused to put him on psychiatric drugs. She needed help, and then they kind of coercion to sign him over to the state, and she couldn't get him out of state care. So she worked, and she lived in Sandy Hook. She invited me up because she thought that Adam Lanza was on these psychiatric drugs. And that was really when I started feeding the lawmakers up there with the data that was going around on the other mass shootings, mass killings. So that's where I started on these mass killings. And then I've worked on multiple school shootings. I like them, they're not really just school shootings. They're murder cases. They're mass murders. And so that's how I started in getting involved in gathering the information like the mental health records. So our organization, Able Child, ended up suing the state of Connecticut for Adam Lanza's mental health records. And then I've been working on it ever since.
So, Shelia, who's diagnosing these students?
That's a really good question as well. And this is through the Association of the School Psychologists. And it's really not endorsed in any science. So a checklist will go home to, the parent will be called in, say, we think that your child has ADHD. The teacher fills out a checklist, the school psychologist, and even the mother, which I did. I didn't know that there was no science, that they were doing this checklist diagnosing. And so this is rampant in our schools. They're hiding it from parents, that there's no science behind it. So it's coming actually from the Association of School Psychology, and they get their data from the National Institute of Mental Health and a really big lobbying organization, NAMI, the National Alliance of the Mentally Ill, which is funded by the pharmaceutical industry.
Wow. It almost sounds like these students that they're diagnosing with ADHD are smart kids that they just need to be stimulated. I mean, if you've ever met a farmer, now these people are not the same kind of people that you would find anywhere else. They work hard all day, they work all day, they're outdoors, they're hands-on, they are physically going all the time. And it kind of sounds like ADHD kids that are being diagnosed with ADHD are the kids that just can't sit still for long periods of time, but they're still smart individuals.
Right. And Able Child's research, and the name of our organization is based on President Eisenhower's Able Child. And that's where grants started, and they were pushed out into the school system to help gifted and creative children. So these children, if you take an ADHD checklist and you take a gifted checklist, they're not, neither one are based in science, but the ADHD checklist has a great deal of pharmaceutical money behind it. And they copied the characteristics of the gifted child. So it's actually fraud. And,
wow.
Able Child's been doing this for over 20 years, and nobody has challenged us on the fraud aspect of it. These children, these gifted and talented children, their identities are being robbed by this checklist.
So what are the alternatives to work with schools and to get this psychiatric part of it out? Because schools shouldn't be filled with psychiatric situations. I mean, if a child needs to see a psychiatrist, they need to go outside of the school. It shouldn't be the school doing it. So what's the alternative to get this change?
Well, it's difficult because President Biden flooded the zone with mental health clinics that are going to be entering and have already entered the public school system at an alarming rate. So what parents can do is go to Able Child, and they can file. It's a letter really nicely written by Senator Orrin Hatch, and he's since passed away, but his legacy is this letter where parents can put it in their folders and avoid all these psychiatric classes and all the diagnosing, and really each year replace it. And it says, I do not want my child to be in value clarifications. A lot of this transgender issues are coming through there, but parents don't have the information. The school isn't saying you have the right to opt out. The school isn't saying you have a right to look at the curriculum. That's federal law. So, we're a small organization. We've been doing this for a long time, and we're the only ones that have the data that parents can use to combat this before it starts.
Yeah. Sheila, do you guys go up to sessions to write bills and try to get these bills? Do you have anything that's going on right now?
Excellent question. Right now, we are preparing for our event, and I know we'll talk about that further, but Able Child has passed federal legislation along with joining forces with other groups like Citizens Commission on Human Rights and Bobby Kennedy's group, the Children's Health Defense. And so we've proposed legislation in Tennessee. We've passed through the No Child Left Behind Act. There's actually a protection that protects parents from mandating that their children go on these psychiatric drugs in order to attend school. So we've passed that. Able Child's work extensively into the behavioral health oversight committees around the country. We've testified, we've done stories in Montana where foreign entities are restructuring the special education department. It's pretty deep, it's powerful. So to answer your question, we're spread a little thin, but we do plan on doing legislation in Tennessee and Florida. And we have a really good proposed bill in the state of Tennessee that we're hoping to push through.
Wow, that's amazing. Thank you so much for what you do. Now, Able Child has an event coming up in February called Shattering the Narrative. I have a little video that I just want to show on that for our viewers to see. Let's take a look at it. Yeah, I love that. And I hope that everybody got a good look at that to please join her event. Sheila, where do people go to find out more about your organization?
Okay, ablechild.org, ablechild.org. We have our breaking news stories on the front. Our invitation to shattering the narrative is right on there. The tickets are $200 for a VIP ticket, $100 general admission. There's going to be a beautiful dinner there, a lot of networking. And we named it Shattering the Narrative because, first of all, our last year, this is our second year. Our first year, we gave award to Stephen K. Bannon. We gave one to James O'Keefe and to Joe Hoft. And this year we're giving one to Jim Hoft, who runs the Gateway Pundit. And his website, you guys are all into this new technology and this new media. His website has had 1 billion views per page. And so we're giving him an award just because he is talking about what the mainstream media isn't talking about. So our organization, right on our website, you can click right on there and buy tickets. It's going to be a wonderful event. We're going to have a lot of news organizations. We have one international news station that is going to be our guest there. So we're excited, so we hope everybody comes. It's the only fundraiser we do. So it gives us the energy to do all the work we need to do.
Wow. Thank you, Sheila Mathews. We love your passion and dedication. Now, don't go anywhere. Please stick around for a short commercial break. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Board Report. If you're just joining us, the Board Report, we bring authentic truth and real conversation to educate our viewers. Today, we're moving on to another subject, the Cleveland Clinic. It has been one of Indian River County's hot topics. Today, we're going to have that discussion. I would like to bring on John Karapi, CJ, Editor-in-Chief of the Spark Free Press. Come on board, gentlemen.
Where's CJ?
Am I here? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Hold on.
Oh. Let me load out and load back in.
No.
Yeah.
Hold on. Let me see if I can bring you on board. Nope, can't bring you on.
He disappeared.
Let me load out and load in real quick.
All right.
All right, folks, hang on just a second and we will bring CJ on board. CJ is the editor-in-chief of the Spark Free Press. If you haven't heard of it, it's a great newspaper to read. You can go online, thesparkfreepress.com, and you can subscribe there. And we're just working out some clicks here.
He's there. You there, CJ?
Yeah, I'm there. I'm there.
All right. Well,
All right.
Go ahead and go. Even if we can't see you, go ahead.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I just wanted to thank you guys for having me on board here. I don't know what's going on with the video, but thank you for all you guys do over here at the board report. And I just wanted to, we work a lot with Able Child over here, and we have been doing some reporting on the hospital district. If Sheila, if you'd like to explain what we're doing over there.
Sure. I ran for the hospital district seat number 5. People might get a little confused, but my legal name is Shelia Gallo. So I ran for the seat, and I lost, but not by much. And I really felt compelled to go to the last meeting regarding the big debate about bailing out Cleveland Clinic. And CJ came with the Spark. He's been reporting on it. He's been on the cutting edge of really getting to the bottom of the controversy. And basically, it was announced that night that they're actually building a hospital in another city, I think, town, Palm Beach. And, it's really terrible that the conflicts of interest within the board and just the constant bootlicking that the board does to the Cleveland Clinic. And I'm very familiar with corruption. So I really did feel that it was important to go to the meeting, and I guess it's on hold right now for further evaluation.
Yeah, Sheila, when you went up to speak, they kind of shut your mic off. They didn't like what you were saying.
Yes, I'm very much used to that, Joanne, because I participate in the behavioral health oversight committees around the country, and I'm going to be actually showing a little clip of all those shutoffs at my events. And they don't want to hear what I have to say, which is that they're spending a tremendous amount of money without any accountability. And I'm really concerned also about the grants they're giving out to the mental health. They're now building sober houses. I mean, the mental health aspect of the government is really so filled with fraud. And they don't like when I point that out, like especially some of these programs that they're funding in behavioral health for young children. There's no outcome measurement. So the way I was trying to explain to them one of their programs that they're funding in the pages in their report, where they say, well, this is the outcome and we're getting excellent responses. It's basically asking kids, how do you feel about the session that we just had? That's not scientific evidence that the program's working. And it's depriving other children of really needed life skills and reading and writing. So mental health is just ripe with fraud. So they cut my mic off.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the hospital taxing district has 4.5 million in services, is what I was reading. And then they are, their partnerships are with Healthy Start and CCIRH. I'm not sure what CCIRH is. Can you expound on that?
Actually, I really haven't dived deep into the actual providers, but what I did is the report that they did release, I went on the outcome measurements, and you can clearly see by the science that they used it's just not scientific. And they keep funding more and more. And we have a mental health crisis in this country, and it's based on the psychiatric drugs they're giving these children, these cocktails vials of psychiatric drugs, and they don't like to even hear it. They have no column how many children are on these drugs. There's no exit plan to get these children off these dangerous drugs. So I'm not exactly sure who's the providers, what their actual, their foundation is. I only looked at the report outcome, and it did not look good for these providers.
Well, and it all goes back to the kids and the DCF and all those too, because what happens is these kids get funneled into DCF, and then they end up going to these mental health institutions, and then they end up into the system, which is foster care, child care, whatever you want to call it, adoption. And then they get caught in the system, and then the mental health crisis grows and grows and grows because they're giving them the cocktails, like you said, of these pills. They did the same thing to my son, because the previous segment you were talking about was, what they did with my child. And they said he had ADHD, and they wanted to give him drugs, and they wanted to talk to the doctor and ask the doctor, like what drug's right for you. And so next thing you know, my son was on Concerta. And so next thing you know, I'm like feeding him Concerta every morning, so he sits still at school. And then when I picked him up from school, he was falling asleep in the car, in the chair on the way to practice. I'm thinking, wait a minute, why is he crashing and burning? This doesn't make any sense. And hopefully, I got him off those things. And I was like, no, but the pediatricians, they just keep doing it. And then they funnel and refer these kids to DCF, saying, oh, the kid's in danger, et cetera, et cetera. And next thing you know, the kid's in the system with all on pills.
Right. The black box suicide warning that our organization, we testified on that way back in 2007 or 6. I'm not exactly sure of the year, where they had to place a suicide warning on these drugs, that it increases the risk of suicide. And that's why they cut me off on the mic, because they don't want that information out there. Concerta is not FDA approved for use in children. So that's off label,
That's crazy.
Wow. And that's what kills me. And it throws me back again. Like you said, the suicide rate, my story from what I went through was I got fired from a job for speaking out at the school board meetings about the mental health crisis that was coming back in May of 2021. And the reason why I did is because my son's pediatrician went out there and told the school board members that I am seeing more kids attempt suicide than I ever had in my whole career. So they didn't put 2 and 2 together and go, wait a minute, if this doctor is telling us that he's not treating kids for COVID, he's treating kids for suicide, depression, and social anxiety and self-isolation. Doesn't that make sense? There's something going on there, and they didn't see it. And then of course here we are now, 4 years later, and we have a mental health crisis.
Yeah, and they're not providing the data. We FOIA'd, not our organization, the Citizens Commission on Human Rights, FOIA'd that data from foster care in the state of Connecticut. And we were going on to these meetings where they were cutting off our mic, and we had the breakdown of how many children were on these psychiatric drugs. This information needs to go to lawmakers so they see how much drugs these kids are on. And that's the kind of legislation that we're trying to pass. And Indian River is no different than Greenwich, Connecticut, or, some of the other towns, the very beautiful towns. These children are being drugged, and we're not allowed to talk about it. And that's why we have this event, Shattering the Narrative. We have to be able to talk about it. I don't care how many times my mic will be shut off. I've been doing this a long time, and I continue to go forward.
And we need to talk about it because the special taxing district, the hospital is a special taxing district, which means our taxpayer dollars are paying for this.
It's a never-ending bucket, and they're never going to keep up with the amount of people that are suffering because they keep drugging them. And so we as taxpayers need to really stand up to this and speak out.
Right. I think you mentioned a great point there. We are the taxpayers. We're hiring these boards. We pay for them. They're public servants to us. And, I think it was great. We saw when we were out there at the hospital board meeting, we saw Dr. Zudans really just stand up and just say, enough's enough. And when he started questioning them, you have one of the board members saying, oh, you don't have to answer any questions. you really, we advise you don't have to answer any questions. And he called them out. He said, well, why would you advise somebody not to answer questions of the taxpayers?
That was a really important point, CJ. Absolutely. That was the attorney for the board. And this is what you're up against. It's a very aggressive suppression of the American people. These advisory boards need to be dismantled, in all honesty, because they're only being a shill for the pharmaceutical and the mental health providers. And believe me, Indian River is a very wealthy, very well-funded pharmaceutical based, I want to say, town. They really are.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. And that's why, hence the mental health, wings that they're building at the hospital in order to feed these kids to that wing and to fuel that fuel. Like Rocky said in the comments, it's a pharmaceutical apocalypse. I mean, literally. I mean, that's what was coming, and that's what was fueled.
And my question is, why are our taxing dollars so involved when we have Cleveland Clinic here? Why do we have to spend so much money on health and services when we have Cleveland Clinic here?
Well, that's a really good point. And I really like the attorney that is on that board. And he's pointed that out several times that, there's a lease that came with that contract. They're not living up to their contract, and they want us to bail them out. And Cleveland Clinic is a very well national hospital chain. And this hospital is they have investments that would, if we looked at just their portfolio of their investments, I think people would be outraged that they would be asking us for this money.
I wonder, can the taxpayers trust Cleveland Clinic, and should there be a full audit of the hospital district?
Yes.
That's a good idea. I mean, a good audit. They're still waiting for documents to be produced. And this sober endeavor that they're going into, the sober house, CJ knows this. He's been in the field, and he's also seen it around Indian River. I mean, one of the questions was, what's your business plan there? There were other sober houses, and there wasn't a shortage of sober houses. And, so I don't know why we're allowing this board to bring us down and buy real estate, and they're just way out of their league.
Yeah. The issue is that the medical system is now, it's meant to keep people sick and keep them with job security. If there's no sick people, everybody gets well. Again, if we make America healthy again, then there will be no need to be putting all this money into the medical system. So they have a invested interest in keeping you sick in order to fuel their private businesses and, siphon off our tax dollars. This has gotten out of control. People need to call them out on it. We were just at a meeting, me and Shelia last night or 2 nights ago, and they were saying that there's poisonous medicine that they're putting in the water supply in Indian River County. Brevard County just got them to take it out of their water supply. They had to go to their county commission and get everything done to just get that out. So they're saying that they're calling this poisonous medicine fluoride, and they're saying that, why is it even in the water, first of all, and second of all, it's illegal to put any medicine in a water supply. That's just against the law.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. And I wonder I think the taxing district is required by our county, but only a percentage of it. So if we don't have to go further into spending money on the hospital district, it seems like they're going over and above what they're supposed to be doing.
Yeah. And
using taxpayer dollars and acting like they have the power to do that. It seems a little bit unconstitutional when you start really using the taxpayer dollars for a lot of these things.
I agree. I think that the entire picture needs to be looked at. Cleveland Clinic was not the only choice. This board selected this out of 3 bids, and they are, we want them to do well. There's no doubt about it that we want them to do well, but we're not stupid. We're not going to bail a hospital chain out that has investments that, are probably worth most of this town's net worth. I mean, it's crazy. One of the guys that came to testify actually read off. I was going to bring it, and I went over the numbers of their investments, and I was like, oh my God, how could they have the audacity to ask us for money and then to tax us? I mean, this is not just a 1-year tax plan. This is like we're going to pan it out over 5 years. So it's not such a burden on you. It's just ridiculous. And again, the funding that they do with the children and the mental health, it's something that Able Child, being that I am here, I am going to look a little deeper into, because there is no exit plan for these children to get off these drugs. And we need a line item, what they're spending on these drugs.
That makes sense. Makes total sense. Yeah.
Yeah. I had a friend that said they had their baby in the hospital for the NICU for I think it was 2 weeks, and they would charge them $750,000 to have their baby there. And they offered them a bottle of water, and they didn't say anything, but then they itemized it as $25 for a bottle of water. So it's getting beyond ridiculous. You look at any other country, their health costs are not even half of what ours is for the same exact services. So
it's crazy how the town was so adamant about getting Cleveland Clinic here when it was coming in the first time. We had the Indian River Hospital. It was more of a nonprofit type of situation. It was more of a county community share type of scenario. And then they just bailed it, and then just took Cleveland Clinic, just came in and scooped it right up. And that it was all by design. And I could see it happen. And I was like, wow, Cleveland Clinic's coming to Vero. And now here they are. Now they're here. Now you know why they came to Vero. Perfect example. They're the richest county in the pretty much per capita in the whole state of Florida. Makes total sense.
I tried to look information up, like for videos on that last meeting. I couldn't find any. So
there should be.
Yeah, that's funny. That's weird, because we were looking for it too, and we couldn't find it. Only in the video we had actually taken it with our media team. There we had, which we were lucky enough to put in, but they had all the cameras and everything set up. We just haven't seen that publicized yet. We're wondering why. That's why we had our own private gear there. We're not leaving it up to them to get this information out to the public. The Spark Free Press will report on that.
Yeah. So guys, I want to thank you for coming on. I want you to stick around. We're going to take a short commercial break, and then we're going to bring on Thomas Kenny to discuss the sidewalk situation from City Council. All right, let's go to a commercial break. Hi guys, welcome back to the board report. We've got John Carapi and Thomas Kenny, editor-in-chief of the Sunshine Journal. Hello, Thomas.
How are you guys?
Doing good, doing real good.
Hey there, Mr. Carapi. What's going
What's
on?
up, buddy? How you doing? I like your hat. Nice.
Hey, we're talking about schools and fools.
Oh boy.
Well, Thomas, we need that update on what's going on with the city council and that sidewalk deal.
Oh, it's a sidewalk. Now it's a boardwalk. It might just be a concrete walk. We have it at the Sunshine Journal currently live on Substack. And I can share that with you if you want to do that. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Hold on one second there. So, well, I don't have it now. You can go on to Sunshine Journal, substack.com/the @ Sunshine Journal will bring you there. And basically what happened this week, back last June, the city council, in their due diligence and stuff like that, voted to put in a weaving sidewalk at the oceanfront edge of Humiston Park behind the dunes, which ecologically makes perfect sense. That previous concrete walk that everyone calls the nostalgic boardwalk, that's only a block and a half long, roughly 450 feet. I mean, it's not a boardwalk. It's not a boardwalk like, if you come from the Northeast or the Mid-Atlantic or these traditional bigger beach towns where they got Ferris wheels and concert venues and nightlife on their boardwalk, and it makes it equal as part to actually going to the ocean itself, and they have the cool fish restaurants you can't go anywhere else to get and all that stuff. This is not us. This is just a little park. It's a block and a half long. It's got 4 entry points onto the beach, and it's become a town buzz. So they voted 4-0 because it was, it cost $800,000. They're going to put 2 pavilions there at $40,000 a piece, the shade pavilions, and then the lifeguard stand is another $150,000. So roughly $1 million. And the city had it budgeted and everything, and they were expecting FEMA to put up $400,000 at a minimum. Turns out their application asked for a whole bunch of stuff. FEMA's like, hey, none of this is yours. One of the things that they asked for was, hey, replace our ADA handicap access ramp. Well, they never had one, and FEMA saw that, and so they're like, we're not buying that for you. So there was that, and then there was the sand dune replacement. They asked for was about $30,000 worth of. There it is. Thank you, guys. Your producers are cracking.
I'm telling you, man.
So the big X thing is me, being arty, being artsy in Canva. But our crack art staff, and that's a picture of the artist rendition of the sidewalk that got voted down.
Well, FEMA's final assessment was only $83,000, right?
Right. And the funny thing was, so you had that, if you look at that brown house there, they used to be across the top of the dunes, was that concrete walk that it had if you guys scroll down a little bit in that article, you'll see it. There'll be a picture of it. You guys can do that. That would be awesome for your viewers. So there it is. It's a beautiful thing there. Like you can put the pointer there on those nice metal guardrails that look like a boardwalk. No, they don't. They look like prison bars. And then if you see right there in the front behind the green planting, there's the junction box for the power that's run along the top of the boardwalk. Concrete walk. It's not the most majestic looking structure for beach nostalgia that you've seen. That thing's been there for about 45 years. And the reason it's there is because the wooden structures kept getting destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
It's costing the city a lot of money. So they built this thing. Anyway, a section off, if that's facing north, so a section south was what broke. It was a 16-foot long section, about 192 square feet of the 5,321 square feet that thing is. And FEMA was like, hey, that's all that broke here. We're going to fix that. Here's $400,000. That's our initial assessment. And they asked for all this sand for the dunes. Now the county and the city have what they call an interlocal agreement, where through the tourist development tax, the county does all, that's how the beach is renourished with the sand. So they do the dunes and all that stuff. So they put in their assessment to FEMA, hey, we got $30,000 worth of, it was like a bunch of sand and the dune renourishment. The plants were like $30,000 in and of themselves. And FEMA came back and said, you guys got this agreement. You're not getting any of this money either. So they just kept FEMA whittled it down to $83,000. And they asked for that whole thing to be replaced at $1.991 million. $1,991,000. So they put in a proposal for that and got back 83 grand.
That
At
was
this
disappointing.
Yeah. So at this point, they're panicking because they've budgeted $1 million. They want to, and I think that what they were thinking is look, if we get half of this, we'll just put the thing back the way it was. Now, I'm
Well, and then
speculating, but that seems to be what the case is, and it turns out. So then they come to the county because now they have no money, and they're like, "Hey, county," and the tourist development tax, in all honesty, should be paying for this anyway. That I think the city has a real argument there because that's what it's for. It's tourists they come to where? The beach. They do other
that whole
events.
little section there, a lot of tourists go. I mean, even when my brother came and stayed, he loved that area. He was like, "Oh my gosh, I love Vero Beach." I said, "Don't tell anyone."
And for what Vero Beach is, that park and its serenity, and it's a very calm atmosphere. It's not a hustle and bustle like in say Rehoboth Beach, Delaware, or or the Jersey Shore, where you got all this nightlife and everything. For what Vero Beach is, it makes perfect sense. The park is that, it just gives that nice quiet solitude, quiet enjoyment of nature.
Well,
The
Thomas,
star out there is the ocean. It's not that boardwalk, that's for sure.
what about the citizens? So some of the citizens wanted the boardwalk to be more old, nostalgic. Like they even wanted to donate money towards it.
And it's true. And so, the staff came back after the citizens made the uproar, and they were like, "Hey, we recommend the concrete one." And I'm thinking, the citizens want the nostalgia 1930s boardwalk, right? That's what they want. And it would lend to that aesthetic that I just talked about. So, that makes sense. It's actually a little cheaper than the concrete. But here's the thing, the maintenance. And it goes back to this tourist development tax issue. The city averages about 49% of all tourist tax and revenue coming in. They just raised it another penny. And Let's Talk Vero did a poll survey. They had 214 participants so far, 109 city, 105 county. Overwhelmingly, 86% said the TDT, the tourist development tax, should be paying for this upkeep. Because look, tourism is a product that Indian River sells. But some of these county commissioners don't want to do that. We still have a quarter point of this tax going to Dodgertown. Dodgertown was primarily, it was written in the code because it's this professional sports team was there, and that was the Dodgers. But the Dodgers are gone.
Yeah.
When they were here, many of you residents know, because people were renting out their houses for 6 weeks or whatever and doing all that stuff, brought a lot of revenue into the town. All these visitors, newspaper reporters. You got a National League baseball team here with a historic background, and now they're gone. Now MLB still does that. It's the Jackie Robinson training center or whatever it is, but they'll have Babe Ruth baseball, intercity leagues, club teams. They all come in, but it doesn't produce, I don't think, the excitement of, say, an LA Dodgers.
So Thomas, why would they want to be different from like JC Beach when that boardwalk was totally torn up? They still put a new boardwalk right back up. It's a nice wood boardwalk. So why would they not want to do the same thing?
I think they've always wanted to do the same thing. I think the problem was they had no money. They lost a big referendum here in November. I mean, you think about this. You have polled in this referendum to develop downtown. You have polled about 3,000 people through your website. And I talked to some of the people behind all that. They said we polled about 3,000 people. They had a 60, 70% approval on this referendum. Now, I don't know where those people were located, but when the city came out and voted, 65% said no. So how did you screw up the polling, or they were blindsided? And it's funny. We wrote an article about this referendum being shot down here at the Sunshine Journal. If you guys can go find it, it's not too long ago, back in November, I believe it was. And the reality of it was that people were like, well, these Trump voters came out and they saw development and they said, no, if we had just done this in an off season where more people know about the issue. I think the people in this city know about the issue.
Mm.
Is that you don't blame the Trump voters. Trump voters are very aware of government spending.
Sounds like they were trying to get political there.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing is people project all these assumptions out there, and the bottom line is if 65% of your city residents said no, even though you polled quote 3,000 people and you got about a 60 to 70% somewhere in there, the exact opposite. Who are you who are you listening to?
I don't think they're listening to the people.
Yeah, well, I think the people just, John Coutinho said it best. He goes, we got an answer, and so we have to do better at explaining. I, for one, think some type of development rules do have to change down there for the future of the city. The city's looking for revenue. The Three Corners project is ultimately a tax revenue thing. The development down there is tax revenue thing. But when you ran in 2022, you hit it right on the head. You were talking about, look, people will move here if the jobs are here.
Mm-hmm.
And the service industries, God bless them all. There are a lot of people who do this, but not everybody's a service industry specialist. There has to be other industry here.
And service industry is mostly lower income. You're not going to make a really good income in service unless you have people coming here that are filling up the restaurants and they're giving you large tips. It's not.
Yeah, and any restaurant manager will tell you that their staff is either they're serious, they're in schools, they're second jobs. They're not everyone's a trained bartender that has certain skill sets that can really make money at this, and some of them are wanting to go into management. But the problem is, the service industry and the medical field is not the only career paths that are out there in schools. Look, this is what bugs me about Indian River County and its conservatism. The top 3 job providers are schools, hospital, county government.
Mm-hmm. That's it.
And the only other person who's got 1,000 employees or more is Piper. God bless them. Thank God.
And then the school district comes right behind them.
No, the school district's number 1.
Oh yeah, and then the hospital.
Hospital 2, county government 3. Piper's like 4 or 5. I think they're 4. But they're the only private industry up there over 1,000.
Mm-hmm.
I believe. I have to double check that, but the reality of it is that it's like you campaign. We need good paying jobs, and we need to market. Because look, if you're building a tract of 800 homes over here and 1,000 homes over there, and the county's approving all this development,
where's the jobs?
Where's the jobs? Well, the other side of that is.
Well, the problem is we have a lot of old politicians that want to support the retirement. Well, we're a retirement community, and the problem with the retirement community is their health care is Medicare. It's not purchased health care, private health care, so it doesn't give a good revenue for the hospital. So
absolutely, and look at the conversation you just had. Look at the conversation you just had. They want a $13.6 million bailout because Medicare is not paying them. And anyone who will tell you, if you remember the battle of Obamacare back in 2010, they said this was the time in the 20s, 10 years down the road, when the fan is going to get polluted, right? Mm-hmm. And the payments are going to come back, and the one of the things, I used to run some conferences with Cedar-Sinai LA and all these big hospitals with Mass Mutual, and I can tell you, they anticipated, the feds not paying their Medicare share or Medicaid share, and that they're paying 19 to 25 cents on the dollar or whatever it is, but it's not a dollar, it's like a quarter of it, and so you've got Cleveland Clinic over here going, yeah, man, we're in the hole. Can you bail us out? And then they're building another hospital on finance.
So, Thomas, where do you think we stand with this boardwalk?
I think it'll get done. in that article, I point out that it's not very clear what they're designing,
Right.
because they did vote on a concrete structure, and the one thing that's always crazy to me is that the terms aren't really always defined. So people are, we would like a boardwalk, a concrete structure. Well, the concrete walk, or do you want a boardwalk? So I would agree you need a concrete base. And then, you can plank the top of it and make it look, historic. They have $175,000 pledged. Tom Core pledged $100,000. He owns the building directly across the street from Humiston Park, where they house the Warren Corporation.
Yeah, I saw that. And John Carroll and Aaron Voss also pledged some
Aaron
money
Voss,
as
35.
well.
And Aaron Voss has already said on record that he said, look, we're not going to put in any more than what we've already budgeted for. And I believe, I heard on the radio the other day, and I still have to verify it, but Joe Flesher over at the county commission said, we could probably pony up the 400,000. After all, that's what they did essentially vote for. They are going to have to rescind that vote and then vote for what the city just decided, because the city in with a unanimous vote rescinded the sidewalk. Right now, the county commission is pledged to the sidewalk, and they're very specific on these things. So they're going to have to probably rescind or amend, and then go back and say, we're for the project that they put forth. But the project isn't entirely clear.
I don't mean to cut you off. We got about 15 seconds. Tell people how to get a hold of you and how to get subscribe to the Sunshine Journal.
Substack.com/@ the @ symbol, the Sunshine Journal. Substack.com/@ the Sunshine Journal.
All right. Well, let's bring up our panel folks, everybody from the panel to join us, and we'll have a complete discussion on our topics today.
Hi, Susan.
Look at that.
There we go.
Hi, everyone.
Look at
Hi, guys.
Full screen.
How's everybody doing tonight?
Really good. Thank you. Thank you for having us on. I love your work, Thomas. And
Thank you.
I appreciate you keeping everybody informed regarding what's going on. It's very important. And CJ, you're awesome. So I just really appreciate everybody here.
Yeah.
I want to thank you guys for being a part of this. It's our second episode, and it played out perfect because our main drive is school board, but there's so many different things playing in our county, and knowing what's going on with our tax dollars. Like I say to everybody, I ask people, how many taxing districts are you subject to? Do you even know? They don't know. And I ask them, when's the school board meeting, if they have kids, and they have no clue. And, do you know anything about a hospital district? And they're like, they don't know what a hospital district is. So getting the word out and recapping some of the piles of nonsense or stuff that gets swept under the rug that costs us money as taxpayers, I can appreciate you guys for sure for coming on. I do have a question for you, Shelia. With your movement being a national, mission, who's your biggest advocate as far as, let's say, in Washington, or politicians that are actually getting behind you and helping you with this?
Well, we've done a lot of work with Ron Paul and Rand Paul. So he proposed a piece of legislation, the Parental Rights Act, on the federal level. We've worked extensively with Senator Grassley's office. We're doing a lot of pieces on the attempted assassination of President Trump and the butler, and we've been supplying the full committee of our writings on the lack of data on Thomas Crook. So we're pretty much embedded, I think, with Senator Grassley's point of view. We've worked with him over a long period of time.
That's great. Any anybody in particular that's more of a wrench in the wheel, that's more friction than anything?
Well, over a long period of time, I've been up against now deceased Ted Kennedy. I was up against him up in the Boston newspaper about the medication of children and his push for parity. And so, you know, I'm hoping that Robert Kennedy Jr., his team will be featured at our event on February 8th. We're hoping, you know, Make America Healthy Again will help. We've worked on the No Child Left Behind with former President Bush, and Neil Bush was supportive. So we work with both sides of the aisle, and you know, we're going to continue to do that and educate lawmakers. We work in Tennessee with the Tennessee Star, has been very supportive. Lawmakers come and go, the corruption stays. So media is a big play for us. That's why we're supporting CJ and the Spark. We really want to build this up. Able Child as a nonprofit wants to support the informed consent part of it. So good question. We're going to see what this new president brings. And Steve Bannon, you know, had me on his show, and I'm in contact with him a lot on different stories. And I said, I've seen a lot of presidents come and go. And so I'm always happy to work with anybody in Democrats and Republicans.
That's awesome. CJ, can you hear? I'm not sure if you can hear me, CJ.
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, I can hear you. My video might be a little bit weird, but
I think you froze up. But I wanted to ask you almost the same question. With your publication in our county, do you get any pushback when people see that it's more conservative or MAGA or MAHA? Do you get any pushback from your publication in our county?
Well, look, if we didn't get pushback, we wouldn't be doing our job. If we didn't get, you know, banned on Facebook every now and then, we wouldn't be doing our job, right? I mean, we live in times of the most censorship you have ever seen in this country. So, you know, big tech has had a grip on free speech until Elon Musk. So, yeah, we get tons of pushback, but, you know, we're going to tell the truth, and we're going to get to the bottom of the story, no matter what the result, you know, what the result is with the pushback.
I can just imagine. I mean, we're kind of in the same line of work as far as, you know, trying to push the truth out there. And we see the trolls that will bleed into the comments section, and they'll always try to steer the narrative and push the false news out there. Like we're bad people trying to do away with a desegregation order. But, and we saw that in our comments of the last episode, but there's really nothing political about it, especially when it comes to informed consent, you know, in our children, or our tax dollars, like with the sidewalk or the boardwalk. So not to leave you out, Thomas, what is this costing us as county taxpayers or city residents? What's this debacle next going to cost us?
Well, it's not really a debacle. It is what it is, but it's how it's, you know, there's this thing called a tourist development tax. And it basically, the county's divided up into two districts, the city, which is 13 square miles, and the rest of it, which is 617 square miles. Okay. The city provides 48% of the revenue. The county provides the other 52%. And I think the city deserves its portion. Now, some people say, well, the city hotels get used for county events. True. But the reality of it is some people might not come if those hotels weren't located next to a beach, which where the city is. and the vice versa. They might not come if they don't have the county event. So that's an irrelevant argument to me. The bottom line is this: the city is the tourist destination. You know, Laura Moss told me, and she's pretty middle of the road, but Laura Moss told me, she said, look, the county was developed in 1919. We had its 100-year anniversary. Vero Beach is going to come up with its 100-year anniversary from 2025. And when they incorporated or whatever in 1925, it was Vero, Florida, and they put beach in it, knowing the beach produces people. They show up. So, yeah, you have to look at this and say, all right, there needs to be a reassessment of the tourist development tax. We're not paying for it necessarily unless, we go over to Mulligan's or any of the other fine restaurants over there and we spend some money.
So with
our relatives come and use the hotels.
So with what do you think is going to ultimately end up happening with the Three Corners, and how does that affect that tourist tax or the hospital district? Because there is that the same proximity? I'm not.
Well, that's going to be in the city, so that tourist development tax is going to be applied, obviously, to a lot of things that are there. There will be, the plans just came out yesterday. I've been actually reviewing them for the last few hours yesterday and some today. And ClearPath, who had that $550 million plan, and they had a theater out on the water and all this. They had this like river canoe thing. I mean, it was crazy what they had in there. And not a skateboard park, but they scaled back to about $250 million. They still have the theater; it's now on the land, and they realized, hey, whoa, we overshot the expectation. So, and what SUDA did, they're the other ones who have applied, and that was the big battle back in the day, and there was this whole controversy of disbarring SUDA. Well, I don't want to get into that now, but they're at about 190 million, 192 million for their plan. And what they did is they're giving the same plan, but they refined it. So they guaranteed, hey, Big Blue, the way we told you we wanted to renovate it, which you guys were skeptical about, we sent designers, we sent engineers in there, and yeah, we can do the job. And so you look at this and you say, this is going to be a real interesting contest, battle, whatever you want to call it. And I think SUDA really developed the park side of it on the south, where they're going to take out the sewage plant and move it out to the airport. That's a big thing that the city has to do. City's under some tight budgeting stuff, and God bless them. I hope they get it done, and we're able to have those parks and the different things that
Thomas. Want. I just have one quick thing. I read about that plan. I was looking up the design firm, and they're very connected to China. It's an international design firm. No, the other one. ClearPath. The designers are really, I was shocked to see.
And Hawk is their engineering firm, and Hawk is just in like 20-something countries. I'd have to go back and look at it. I've scanned the whole thing.
Yeah, there's some breaking news coming out about that soon. Oh, wow.
Where can we find that breaking news?
That. Yeah.
Spark Free Press.
SparkFreePress.com.
That should be interesting.
Yes.
That's all the questions I have. John, do you have any questions for our distinguished contributors tonight?
No, I think we covered a lot of everything. I mean, the boardwalk thing. I mean, I lived here for over 40 years. I mean, I see what they're trying to do, and I mean, I get what needs to happen. But again, it's all about budgetary things. We're getting squeezed from all different angles with the hospital district and Cleveland Clinic and the boardwalk, and it's just it has to stop. And even the fluoride we brought up, and we got to have some breaking stuff on that as well with the whole water thing. I've had a couple people reach out to me. We are changing Orlando, and folks over there want us to get involved in that. So the timing is good for everything we're doing. So we're bringing all these to the forefront, and so I think this is a great second episode, and it's just going to grow from here. So I appreciate everybody giving us your time and speaking your truth. Go ahead, Thomas.
Well, one of the things too, in regards to that tourist development tax, that'll happen with that, but it's going to create a revenue base, obviously, this big project. The question is if these projects are really sustainable into the future, particularly this Three Corners.
Yeah.
Because it's got its eye candy. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I just want to show you some of these renditions. All right. I do. This is pretty dang crazy, and it only take a second, but this is what you're seeing.
it's concerning that the Chinese companies involved in it. Because the first thing I think of is smart city for 15-minute city stuff, and that's what it's become. And that concerns me. As a resident of this town for a long time, but I know it's inevitable. But we can stop it. We can say, no, we don't want that. Like, we don't. That's that's no good. But unfortunately, there's so much money that pours into it. I mean, even the Tom Core family put money into that boardwalk stuff. I mean, that's all fine and nice and all, but it's at the same time, it's all political and it's just stancing. That's all. Wow, look at that thing.
Yeah,
that looks like it should be in the city.
So that's ClearPath.
Wow.
They didn't really change. They scaled back. They scaled back.
Jesus.
Yeah, they used to have canals in here where you could do rowing and row through the thing and all sorts of stuff.
So what are we? It looks like a little city.
Yeah, it is. That's what it is. That's exactly what it is. That's what that makes total sense that this Chinese company's involved. It makes I didn't even know that. So now, again, this is why we're doing this, so that we get this information out there, so people know that there's Chinese money behind this, and our folks on the beach and the people that really benefit from what's really going on with this, they're the ones that are going to benefit from it, not us. Because I'll never step foot on that in that area. I'll never go near that place.
It's not even Vero Beach.
Yeah.
Now this is Suda.
It's like a sore thumb.
Yeah.
This is Suda. So Suda is pretty much taken Big Blue, and they call that a breezeway, and it shoots right through it. And that to me is more interesting. It's got a little more green aesthetic and green space, but in essence, it's got pretty much the same things. And
I think this is the same one. I think this is still Clearview or ClearPath.
It is, because I switch personally. Or maybe it'll. Oh, I see why. Okay.
Yeah, you got to click that link.
Oh, I gotta go to a new tab. That's what you. Sorry, people. We're learning on the fly.
No, you're good. This is it's
good.
raw.
Yeah, we gotta end CCP influence in Indian River County. It's just, we can't have it.
I can't get into the idea. I don't know enough about whether or not it's direct CCP influence. I'm not going to go there right now as a reporter, because that's just, that's assumptive to me at this point for myself.
Yeah, but you have to find out. We have to find out.
You do have to find out.
You want to open it up to local architectural firms that are not, competing on a global network, level. You want to keep your jobs and everything here, but I mean, it's not like they can't bid on it, but you should know where their money is,
Well, absolutely true. And I think you'll learn that along the way. So, ClearPath has pretty much kept their same people. Sorry, it's got to get it right side up. There we go.
That is beautiful.
Yeah, so they're taking now. This is a beautiful thing about Suda, is that they've gone in now and this is what they proposed originally. They were like, well, you guys didn't bring it in on time, and they made all these excuses because there was a beach push for the ClearPath project.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, and I'm looking into some of those things as well. The reality of this is they came in and they say in their executive summary, hey, we looked at this building from an engineering perspective because we weren't changing our designs. We're coming with what we've always come to you with, and that's something we believe is ecologically sound, sustainable. They use all the big $10 buzzwords, and that's all well and good, but one of the things they want to do is they really want to build a park on the south end that connects the north side of it and connects the sailing school and all that. And they've integrated everything, which by the way, with what did they use? A boardwalk. So, you say to yourself about these things, that's pretty cool. Now that to me is a boardwalk. It's got like ecology walks. They're going to put signs around with the floral. As you can see, some of my partialities coming out. Yeah. I don't need Lincoln Center Arts down here all the time playing chamber music. I need it's where I can go and just clear my head and get my skull right, So
this photo that you just showed us is ClearPath.
The one I just showed you was the Suda with the breezeway going through, and their idea is that you see all the way to the lagoon from the parking lot.
Pretty.
Yeah,
and it's cheaper.
that's
Very
nice,
pretty.
and it's aesthetically beautiful. Like
Yeah.
it's you
Yeah.
drive by it and you're just going to want to go there.
I mean, the chimney stacks, dude, cut them things out.
Put some flags on there.
Yeah.
There you go. I mean, that's one thing ClearPath did, right? They put the big sails on there, and they would want a lookout tower. I'm thinking, suit it, just put a lookout tower up there. That'd be pretty
Yeah.
cool.
That is actually a cool idea.
I'm not for not having fun. Don't get me wrong. So,
I like the lookout tower idea.
yeah, that's one thing ClearPath got going for them is they turned one into a lookout tower. Then we
Well,
can
we
see if the
appreciate
Jedi are
you
coming. No,
reporting on it.
I'm
Yes.
sorry.
I was just going to say, I really appreciate your reporting on it, and I'm
Yeah.
glad that you're bringing this to our attention, because it is a huge part of Vero Beach. It kind of ties the mainland in with the island.
Well, and one of my concerns too is, you build something like this without developing downtown, and what becomes of downtown, because there's going to be a gravitational pull of people to the shiny object on the lagoon. And if it deteriorates, downtown could deteriorate all the more. And I think that referendum is very important. If you're going to build something of this magnitude, you're going to have to raise the game of development. And it goes back to what Joanne ran on 2 years ago, bringing in the professional people and to want to make their homes here because their careers are here.
Mhm.
And that's important. Joanne and I were talking about this. Your top 3 employers are the schools, the hospital, the county government. In a conservative, it's
that's true.
just really odd. We're conservatives. Capitalism, come on, let's get on with it. And we're not allowing people to do that.
Nope. Too many restrictions, too many rules, permits, whatever it is, it's turning businesses away.
It is. There's a beautiful theater downtown that should be open.
Yeah. Big time. That's, if anything, that should be the focus. Than this
Beautiful theater. My gosh, it's gorgeous.
I agree. I totally agree with that. That'll be another story for another podcast.
Because that thing is a magnet, and if
Yeah.
it's empty, it's just polarizing people into the other direction.
So
Mhm.
I think for
That's
another
right.
episode, we'll talk about the corners and all that too.
I
Yeah,
want to
so-
thank Joanne. Thank you, Joanne, for another good episode.
Thank you,
Oh,
Joanne. Thank
yes.
Thank
you.
you guys for coming on.
And we hope you guys will come back on and keep us updated on Able Child and the
Mhm.
hospital district for sure. I don't know if you saw our plan, but we plan to cover the school board meetings the same week those board meetings are held and workshops, and we would love to bring that information from the hospital district and whatever else you're covering also on the Sunshine Journal and the Spark Free Press. So I want to thank you guys.
Yeah.
Please come
Yes.
to the event on February 8th. We are giving an award, a humanitarian award to Dr. Jean Pasca.
Oh,
So please come. It's really going to be a great opportunity for podcasters because the Gateway Pundit's going to be there, and they're pretty powerful guys, the Hoff brothers. So thank you.
Yeah, good
That's awesome.
people.
Thank you
Yeah.
for Able Child and what you're doing. And Thomas, as always, thank you for giving us your insight.
Hey, you're welcome.
Joanne, do we have anything planned for next week?
Next week we've got our school district information if we have any, or
I think that's not the school.
It's
The
not
next
until the
part-
31st.
the 31st.
Okay,
So
yeah. So
I know, just to plug some possibilities, I know John is talking to a few people in town, like from around the state about the fluoride. We're hoping to bring an interview to you with that, and another local advocate for sustainable farming. Am I saying that right, John?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we don't have anything scheduled yet for next week, but the week after you can look forward to an update from the school board. And
You guys give me a call. I'm bound to have something.
awesome.
Okay,
And I also
yeah.
wanted to plug Joanne's interview with Robert Morse. If you at home or you guys haven't checked out Joanne's interview with J6er Robert Morse,
Oh,
it's
yeah,
a
that's
really good
great.
interview. He's a great guy, and we hope to meet him in person here in Vero one day. So
Yeah, and on Saturday, I'm having an interview with another J6er, the Florida J6er, actually, and that is Barry Ramey, and we'll be doing that at 12 o'clock on Saturday.
that's Saturday. This Saturday?
Yeah.
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Awesome.
Hey,
And
and
then-
Mike, can I make a quick plug real quick?
Sure,
Yeah.
absolutely, please.
We got an episode on Friday at 11 o'clock with Alex Newman with the
Oh, nice.
Sparks Presents Shattering the Narrative. You can find us at Spark Free Press, Facebook, and on the internet. Yep.
Oh,
Awesome.
pretty cool.
Oh,
Very
the
cool.
interwebs.
Love Alex Newman.
And then of TGI Now podcast, we're going to have Glenn Baker on our show from Finish This Fight, a Diary of a Pissed Off American Soldier. So we'll have him on TGI Now on Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern live. So that should be a good show too. Check his stuff out. FinishThisFight.com or .us.
And guys, by the way,
Awesome.
I mean, we talk about government and it's either competent or not. There's a great editorial by Dale Glading up at the Sunshine Journal, "The Incompetence Electing Incompetence," and it's
just saw
quite a
that.
story of local Jersey politics where he's from. He ran for Congress back in 2010, I believe, and in and around Camden, New Jersey, and it goes into the state houses and talks about governors and things like that. It's a really interesting piece.
I think that's great. This is incompetence, and this is the what they've been saying. They've been telling us is incompetence, but I want to come at it with a different angle. That maybe this isn't incompetence. Maybe it's intentional. Maybe it's intentional destruction of our country.
Well, when you look at California, just took a poll in the Daily Mail. 52% of the people think that the mayor of Los Angeles did no wrong, and 51% or 53%, I forget what it was, think Governor Newsom is not in the wrong either. Think about
I
that.
think these are maybe skewed, but
Is
this
it
is
like they shouldn't be blamed, and you're just like, come on. But
this is intentional criminal mischief and intentional administrative sabotage.
Yeah.
You guys are
Well,
awesome.
guys,
You
I
guys are
live
awesome.
in California. I live in Florida.
Yeah. So, guys, I think this is a wrap. I want to just remind everybody, thank you for joining us here on the board report. Shelia Mathews, our contributors include Shelia Mathews, founder of Able Child, CJ, editor-in-chief of the Spark Free Press, and Thomas Kenny.
I am not a Kennedy.
Chief of the Sunshine Journal, Thomas Kenny. I love you. Sorry about that.
I know. It's playing.
Thank you again for joining us today at the board report, and we'll see you every Friday at 7 p.m.
Thanks, folks.
Thank you.